So what is going on? Welcome back to the channel. Thanks for checking out the video. The weekend after we got back from Washington, we headed down to Manti, Utah to ride the Arapeen Trail again. Now this is a trip that we were supposed to take in the beginning of October of 2021, but I mean it was supposed to happen the weekend after we got back from the Paiute last year. And that weekend turned out to be bad, cold, snowing. I mean, that weekend was a disaster. And so thankfully, Temple Hill Resort was willing to let us reschedule our trip. So we moved it to here in the middle of June, which is about the same time that we did the Arapeen 2 years ago. Now, we are here with our good friends, Mike and Tish, and we've only got 2 days of riding. We got a Friday and a Saturday to get as much riding in as possible. So we are just gonna hit it. And the forecast is for wind. We went from the mid 50s and raining up in Washington last weekend to the mid 90s and windy and dry here in Manti this weekend. So big weather change for us in 7 days. But yeah, the wind is supposed to be happening pretty much all week long, but it's supposed to be dry, decent weather otherwise, just hot. But once you get up in the mountains, things aren't so bad. But let's get started. This is day one. Kind of funny, as we were coming up the hill, I remember 2 years ago, I thought, gosh, we ran into water somewhere up in here, a couple years ago, and we weren't running into water, and I thought, well, things are maybe a little bit drier than they were. And yeah, we had to get a little bit higher to find it, but we eventually found the water in the mud. And I remember this trail as being some pretty good mud holes on it a couple of years ago, but yeah, still passable. Guess you could say. We got to play in a little bit of mud, and I'll tell you, the mud holes up here are a little bit different. They are a little gooey at the bottom. Up in Washington, the mud holes had a pretty firm bottom to them, so you weren't digging into the soup. But some of these are crazy soupy at the bottom and a little sketchy, a little hairy, but fun. And yeah, from 2 years ago, I remember just this place is a little bit rugged. It's not maintained to a T like the Paiute or something like that. The trails are as they are and pretty rugged and amazing and beautiful. Now, for the life of me, I cannot remember the name of this little lake. And it's not on the map. I can't find it. I'm going to go on a little bit of a side note, a little bit of a rant. So Avenza updated its app a month or two ago. I mean, a big update. Changed everything. And it's been so iffy, so sketchy, now it has gotten better the last update, but I'm telling you, when we were standing right here, I dropped a pin on my map on Avenza and labeled it. We didn't have cell service, so Mike walked up the hill a little ways until he had cell service, and he Googled it, got the name of it. So I put a pin in my app right here with the name of it that we found, and then that pin is just gone. It's not even there on the map anymore. I pinned a couple of things on this day, and those pins are gone, and about half of the tracks that I tracked are just missing. It was, oh, this app's really starting to just irritate me. Now the next day, I didn't pin anything, but it did track the entire day, so whatever. But it just, it used to be the most dependable map app that I had, and now it's just pissing me off. Anyway. Yeah, right now we're just kind of pushing our way up to the summit to Skyline Drive just to take a look over the top.
We got winches. Sit down, sit down. Come on.
So we made it up to Skyline Drive, and it was windy, like crazy windy. So we didn't spend a lot of time here, just wanted to get a little peek over the top. Now this isn't necessarily the prettiest part of Skyline Drive, but it's just kind of a goal to make it up to the top. But from here we're going to head north along Skyline Drive and see how far we can go before we have to head back down. Now when we were here 2 years ago, there was a huge snowdrift blocking the road of Skyline Drive, and it was just in a spot where you couldn't get around it, and that snowdrift kind of forced us to choose the trail previous to that to take back down. And I suspected, because we were pretty similar as far as weather and precipitation and everything else from the winter, that we were probably going to be pretty similar to that this year. And so, but figured we'd just go for it. So we head north on Skyline Drive. And just kind of as I suspected, that same snowdrift is there. It's even a little bit bigger than it was a couple of years ago, but it's just in a spot where you can't go around it, and it's really the only blockage. It's kind of the last thing to thaw out on Skyline.
Oh my god. I'm like, go for it, do it.
So we turned left, headed back down, headed back towards Manti. Still a lot to do, some really cool trails to see. But don't worry, tomorrow we are actually going to take the Skyline Drive from the far south end up to here, and so you'll get to see the really pretty sections of Skyline Drive. This is all we get to see today, and man, the wind up here was insane. Time to head back down, find a little valley with some shade and no wind, and have some lunch. So we finally found somewhat of a decent lunch spot, good enough. We had a little bit of shade, and we had a little break from the wind. So we just pulled over and sat on a log in the shade and ate some lunch real quick and continued down. I cannot be said enough just how beautiful these mountains are. just kind of working our way back into town. Everything kind of opens up, gets a little faster, a little smoother, and you make your way back to civilization. What a great time today. Tish and Mike are so fun to hang out with. Those two are just the best. We had the greatest day. You know, we're still pretty new at the Arapeen, and we did a lot of stuff that we had done before and that they hadn't seen, and they've explored this area a little bit. They've camped on the other side of the mountain, and so we just kind of put a couple of things together. But yeah, just a day of exploring and reliving some old trails that we really enjoyed. And yeah, anyway, we just head back to camp. Shower, clean up, start drinking beer, have some hamburgers, and just relax for the night. The wind never really stops. It just keeps going all night. And anyway, plenty warm, lots of wind, still a good day, and still a great night in camp. But that does it for part 1. We'll see y'all in part 2. We'll see you on the trails.